Okay, students, so the topic which I am going to discuss with you all today is the annual rainfall. Now, the rainfall in India varies from place to place, the amount of rainfall, because one of the characteristics of monsoon season is it's sporadic, uneven, isn't it? So the different parts of the country receives different amount of rainfall. Variation of rainfall is present in our country. Okay, and for that we have already learned that in the monsoon and its branch, the video which was there before, I had already explained like why the amount of rainfall differs from place to places. Okay, so here we are going to look thoroughly, okay, about the amount of rainfall occurring in different places of our country. And here the figure is clearly going to depict, okay, the amount or the variability of annual rainfall in India. There are places which are receiving over 400 centimeter of rainfall, okay, and there are places which receives only 50 centimeter of rainfall in India. Okay, so let us have a glance on the figure. So as you can observe, as you can see, students, this map is providing enough data to us to understand the distribution of rainfall. This kind of map is called choropleth map. And over here you can see the western Ghats and the northeastern area. Some parts of it receives heavy amount of rainfall. Some parts are receiving even more than 400 centimeter of rainfall. But again, if you see the Rajasthan area, it receives only 20 centimeter of rainfall annually. Similarly, in the interior part of the country also, again the rainfall is quite less. Some are receiving 40 to 60, some are receiving 60 to 100, some are 100 to 20 200, isn't it? So in that way the rainfall distribution is unequal, and rainfall distribution differs from place to places. Okay. Okay, students, so listen carefully. Two trends are worth observing in the distribution of rainfall in India. Like the coastal areas, if you observe, the coastal area of Bengal and Odisha receives quite a good amount of rainfall. But as we travel towards the interior part of the country, okay, towards the west and the northwestern side, the rainfall decreases. And again, if you see, the western coastal areas and the eastern coastal areas receives quite a good amount of rainfall. But again, if we move towards the interior part of the country, the rainfall decreases. It means that the coastal areas are receiving more amount of rainfall than the interior part of the country. So as you can see, students, the distribution of rainfall in our country differs from place to places. Okay, now this spatial pattern of rainfall variability also plays a very important role in the Indian agriculture, and also it led to the calamities like droughts and floods also. Okay, now let us have a glance over the incidents or those calamities of droughts and flood and the measures which has been adopted against those calamities. Now the variability of rainfall may lead to the cause of other natural calamities like droughts and floods. Okay, when there is a scarcity or the failure of rainfall, droughts occur, and if it is heavy rainfall, then the floods will occur. Now, drought is the distress situation which is caused by the failure of rainfall, and when the surface water as well as the groundwater falls short in the supply, and when the water loses its potentiality. Okay, now the drought condition again adversely affected the biotic life, because another incident or another calamity can occur, that is famine, isn't it? So the quantity and the timing of the rainfall are both are equally important. Now series of droughts has occurred in India in the various past in the event. Okay, so that has been caused due to the weak southwest monsoon. Okay, it can also occur due to the late arrival or the early withdrawal of monsoon, and prolonged breaks in the monsoon season, okay, in the rainy season, can also lead to the occurrence of droughts. And in India, drought affected areas are nearly about 16% of the total area, and nearly about 12% of the populations are adversely affected of it. Nearly about 10 lakhs square kilometer of area falls under the drought prone zone. Okay, so which is one third of the total. land of the area, because this area receives generally very low amount of rainfall, which is around 75 centimeter, as well as inadequate irrigation facilities is also one of the causes for the droughts in those areas. So basically, the states of Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, okay, they falls in the drought prone region, and these places nearly accounts for 34% of the net sown area in our country. So as you can see in this figure, the well-defined tracks of droughts has been shown. Like in the zone 1, extreme areas are the deserts and the semi-desert areas of Rajasthan and Gujarat, and in the severe zone, that is zone 2, falls under the states like Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh and some parts of Chhattisgarh. And in the zone 3, the moderate areas falls of the uh, Gulf of Kutch area, Gulf of Khambat, Maharashtra area, and some parts of Punjab, then Uttar Pradesh, Bihar. So these are like also in the small pockets of Tamil Nadu area also falls under the moderate zone of droughts, and rest of the areas are drought free zones. So a program was initiated by the government, that is drought prone areas program, in the year 1973, okay, in order to minimize the effect of drought. So few objectives, the objectives of the aims and objectives of the programs is to minimize the adverse effect of drought on the production of crops and livestock and productivity of land and water, human resources, through the integrated development of natural resources base of the area and adaptation of the appropriate technologies. Okay, so adopting different technologies and all, drought prone areas, okay, will be restore, okay, or it the main adverse or the effects will be minimized. And the next objective is to conserve and develop and harness land, water and other natural resources including rainfall, okay, for the restoration of ecological balance in the long run. So this drought prone area program, okay, was under the implementation in 629 blocks of 96 districts in 13 states. Okay, so total area under this program is about 5.54 lakh square kilometer, and which is just 50% of the total drought prone areas in our country. The total drought prone areas in our country is nearly about 10 lakh square kilometer. So the next natural calamity we are going to discuss is the flood, and which occurs frequently in every rainy season in India. Now flood occurs due to the high amount of rainfall. So the droughts and the flood are the phenomena, okay, or we can say that are the extreme ends of the hydrological cycle. So the floods are caused due to the excessive rainfall by the southwest monsoon, okay, or the tropical cyclones which occur in the pre and the post monsoon periods, okay, silting of river beds, change in the river course. Now sometimes the floods may occur due to the bursting of dams, okay, such as example like Machu dams in Gujarat in August 1979. So the thing is that like floods also can have a very adverse effect on the biotic life, and since India is very vast, okay, nearly about 40 million hectares, okay, that is 1/8 of the total land of our country is accessed to the flood prone areas. Okay, now if you observe these areas or if this figure, you can clearly see that the area which is highly affected by the floods. Now, especially the areas like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and Assam Valley are highly subjected to the frequent floods. We can say it's a very annual feature in this area, because these areas are drained by um, rivers which carries a huge volume of water, okay, and we should not forget that these are the areas which also receives very heavy amount of rainfall, which is amounting to 250 centimeter. Now for example, if you see in Assam, okay, the Brahmaputra river along with its tributaries are the main cause of the floods in this area, because this river okay, they carries a high amount or the high volume of water, large volume of water, okay. And during the rainy season, due to the high amount of rainfall or heavy rainfall, okay, the river channel becomes shallow and its capacity to carry the large amount of water is reduced, which results in the floods. Similarly, in the areas of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, if you see, these are also highly affected region because of the flood. Is the those areas are also drained by the rivers, okay, which brings heavy amount or the large amount of water from the Himalayan regions, like the tributaries of River Ganga, like Gandak, Ghagra, River Kosi. Okay, so they bring high amount of heavy amount or the heavy volume of water from the Himalayan region, and also due to the heavy rainfall also. Okay, so the thing is that these areas are also highly prone to the floods. It's not like that the peninsular India does not have any problems of flood. Okay, it's worth mentioning that a few of the few pockets of the peninsular India are affected by the floods also, but if we compare with the northern parts, is not as frequent. Okay, and it is not very heavy or devastating like the northern India also. Okay, few pockets of Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, okay, Gulf of Khambat, those areas are highly subjected to the floods, but it is not much devastating as the northern India. So in order to control or in order to reduce the effect of flood, okay, flood program and policies were initiated by the government. Like after the devastating floods in 1954, government launched the flood management programs, in which it was divided into three different phases: immediate, short term, and long term. So in the immediate phase, within the 2 years, the collection of data and the executions of the immediate emergent flood protection measures, okay, was adopted in the immediate phase. And in the short term measures, like which is extended up to 4 to 5 years, which includes the construction of spurs and embankments at the selected sites so that they can control floods. Okay, and the next in the long term measures, which was also extended for the few years, and where the constructions of storage reservoirs, dams especially, okay, on the rivers and tributaries with the additional embankments were also done. So it has been estimated that 40 million hectares of flood prone area which is there, around 32 million hectares can be provided with this reasonable degree of flood protections and by the structural measures. Now remaining of the areas, okay, there due to some kind of resistance by the physical features and all, these areas cannot be brought under the protection by the flood protections. So students, this was so this was the few of the calamities which are caused by the variation of the rainfall, and few measures which are adopted in order to control those natural calamities.